Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. It's completely free to subscribe to the channel and there's no money to gain if you do, to me. Anyway, let's move on with the Celtic news. There's lots of Celtic transfer speculation kicking around this morning, but let's talk about the current squad and let's clear up a few matters before we talk about transfer speculation of players incoming. So let's jump over to Celtic FC CelticFC.com/teams and look at the goalkeeping situation. We all know that Joe Hart has retired and Benji Siegrist isn't back at Celtic yet, but he hasn't left Celtic either. Benji Siegrist's missus did put out saying that Benji had managed to broker a deal getting away from Celtic, but it doesn't look like that has came to a conclusion just yet because Benji Siegrist is still on the team sheet at Celtic. We're definitely on the website, but Joe Hart has gone. And number 29, Scott Bain, is still there. So let's look at the keepers. There's a player that's been a lot in the news a lot lately. And I did say, I don't know why people are getting excited because, let's face it, he was out of contract at the end of the season and he left Celtic. And Celtic aren't going to say goodbye to a player that was out of contract and left for nothing. Players aren't going to say their goodbyes publicly to them. They're just going to forget about him. And Celtic fans should do the same and see if you could see the omission on the Celtic lineup. Anyway, defenders is one and only Alistair Johnson. He's still there and playing fantastic with Canada. And a lot of people are saying if Celtic are looking at a goalkeeper, have a look at the Canadian goalkeeper. He's quite a good keeper. Greg Taylor, who was away with Scotland, and he's still on his holidays. And then there's Gustav Lagerbielke, who was back at training last Thursday. He came back. He was one of the first ones back. And then there's Liam Scales, who has also got an extended little break. He will be back towards the end of this week, I think, the weekend. And then there's big Mark Norocki. And then Yuki Kobayashi. Cameron Carter-Vickers, who's still Copa America duties with the United States of America, and Tony Ralston, who's still on leave and was in Ibiza. Yes, and he was in Ibiza, and there was a shock picture because he was pictured with an ex-Rangers player. You do know that football players, even though they play for different teams, and when they're away with national teams and stuff, they kind of get on. You know, it's when they cross the pitch, it's battle fever. But football players, even for different teams, do generally get on. So I don't see the big shock the fact that he was pictured with an ex-Rangers player in Ibiza. And Stephen Welsh is still in the squad. Stephen Welsh, that was given an extended contract last season. He was back the first day at pre-season training. Also, now let's jump into the midfield players. And he's still there. You can see him. Yep. But there's an omission in the midfield, and see if you can guess who it is. But anyway, there's Odin Ohm, who is still there, Celtic player. And then the man, the myth, the legend, who posted to Instagram for the first time in about 2 years, is James McCarthy. James McCarthy posted pictures on Instagram lately just of him and his kids. And he's still there, and he's still in that Celtic squad. Never kicked a ball for years. He must have nudes of Lawwell's wife or something. Just saying, he must have something. He must have. Anyway, and then there's Tomoki Owata. And then Matt O'Reilly, who's the man of many, many speculation, and I'll be glad to get this window done and dusted, and so Matt can knuckle down and play some football. And then we have Rio Hitasi, Callum McGregor, who was the fall guy for everything as far as Scotland are concerned, according to the Scottish media. And then James Forrest, who was the man in form, who's the man who managed to change games towards the end of the season for Celtic, travelled to Germany, and sat about. You'd have been better on holiday. Anyway, the forwards. Oh, and who's missing? Who's missing that was in the squad from last year? Yep, Rocco Vata. He's not there. Rocco Vata has departed the building. So get over it, Celtic fans. This nonsense that he's, Celtic are going to sell him for $3 million. He's out of contract. He left Celtic. End of. Celtic will claim a little bit of compensation in the region about 200 to 300 grand for the next team he goes to, but that's it. We forget about the player. He's left Celtic, and Celtic will have done the same. Anyway, the forwards. It's looking a bit light in the forward department also. We do have Louis Palma, Louis Palma, because we play the three up front. There is obviously they're all classed as forwards. Louis Palma, and then our goal scoring hero Kyogo, Nicholas Kuhn, and Yang. Yang. It's been rumored that Yang may leave Celtic this summer, but we'll wait and see. And then there's O. Yep, there's O, who's also reported to be on his way out of Celtic, and then Dyson Maida. And then obviously Adam Ida is marked off because he's no longer at Celtic, so he's no longer on the team sheet on the Celtic ones. Now this is where it gets interesting because the ones that were loaned out last summer, the ones that were loaned out, there are some interesting players. And one of them, I don't think we really spoke about it at the end of last season, towards the end of the last season. But anyway, young Toby, who was at Admiral Wacker, he is, for me, he should be our number 3 goalkeeper. Alexandro Bernabe, he's loaned out until December 2024. So you're not going to see him back here for pre-season. And I don't think you're going to see him back here at Celtic at all. If he's loaned out until the December, Celtic will try and make sure that that move is then made maybe even permanent. Then you've got young Ben Summers, who spent the season at Dunfermline, Johnny Kenny. It's understand that he might be staying at Shamrock Rovers. Matthew Anderson. Now, this is an interesting one, as young Matthew Anderson, because when you click onto Twitter and you go into the Celtic B team, you go into the Celtic team. After an impressive first senior campaign, sees Matthew Anderson named in the OEFBL Arma 2 Liga Team of the Season. That's interesting that he was in the team of the season for, and Celtic never really put anything else out about it. And there wasn't even any comments on the post that Celtic B team put out, which I found was quite astonishing, really, when you look into it. So maybe Matthew Anderson is one for the future. I mean, Celtic do have the knack of putting players out on loan from the youth system and then bringing them back in gently into the team. And maybe Matthew Anderson is one of these ones that we need to watch out for. We're interested to see him. And then there's Mackenzie Cass, who's at Queen's Park Rangers, and then Quan. Remember him? He was put out to St Mirren. Will we see Quan back at Celtic? I don't think so. And then young Josh Clark. He was at Ayr United last season when Scott Brown first got the job because they were in need of a goalkeeper. But he was spotted at training at Celtic Park the other day. And then a big season for this guy. It is a big season. He went to Fleetwood Town as a defender last season and he ended up playing in midfield. Wilson Lowell. It's going to be an interesting one because he is a defender at Celtic. Celtic have been linked with another defender. We'll talk about him in a minute. But has Bosun Lowell done enough to warrant a place in the first team? Tell me your thoughts in the comments because Liam Shaw, remember him? He went back to Wigan. I think he'll probably get put out on loan again. He came from Sheffield Wednesday, if I remember correctly. And I don't think he's going to make it at Celtic, unfortunately. And then there's the man, the myth that came to Celtic injured and went back to Melbourne FC. Yes, the man that had been scouted by Celtic for 2 years under Ange Postecoglou, Marco Tilio, who came to Celtic injured and then spat the dummy out because he wasn't getting enough game time and wanted to go back to Australia. I don't think you'll see him back at Celtic. That's my own personal opinion. He should be back in training. I've never seen pictures of him in training. He wasn't in international duty or anything like that. So I think Marco, it'll be interesting to see what happens to him. Then young Ben McPherson, who's at Queen's Park, and Adam Montgomery. Well, you've seen Adam Montgomery at training. You've got to remember, Adam got a really bad injury towards Christmas time. He was going out on loan to Motherwell. And about a week after turning up at Motherwell, he got a really bad injury and he was brought back to Celtic for his rehabilitation. So I think Adam might be a player that will go back. I mean, there's been talk of Adam Montgomery being sold by Celtic. I think he's got about a year left on his contract. And then there's Mikey Johnston, who went to West Brom Albion. Did anybody see Mikey Johnson in training? Because he should have been back the first week also. But Adam Montgomery was definitely back, so it'll be interesting to see what happens with the young player. I think young Adam Montgomery might go to Scott Brown's team, Ayr United. But anyway, let's move on. And that is the team that is currently on the Celtic FC website, minus the players that have left Celtic. one being Rocco Vata and the other being Adam Ida. Who else did we bring in on loan? There's one more missing. Somebody will tell me in the comments anyway. Right, let's get to the Celtic news part of today's video. Yeah, the transfer speculation has been rife again last night. Now, with goalkeeping, we're always on about the goalkeeper, and until Celtic make an announcement, I think we should all just stop it. We just need to stop it. Celtic just need to come out with an announcement, and we can talk about the goalkeepers that have been linked with us. Danish goalkeeper, we're meant to be still in talks with our supposedly number one target as a Danish goalkeeper. Although people are saying the Newcastle goalkeeper has been linked, everybody's been linked, but when it comes to the goalkeeping situation, Peter Van Dal Jensen is one player that keeps coming up. But we'll just wait. There's no use adding to any more speculation because, let's face it, Celtic will end up pulling a rabbit out the bag, a bit like what they did with Joe Hart. I mean, nobody seen the Joe Hart signing coming, did they? That was kind of a left footer one, that one. And I think that the goalkeeping situation will probably be pretty much the same this season. But you never know. Somebody might have got it right. There is another player that Celtic, we did talk about, obviously, the defence and the defenders that we do have. I think that one defender that may leave is obviously going to be Gustav Lagerbielke. We know that Rocky was offered a pathway back to Legia Warsaw to go back on loan for a season, and he turned that down. Will he leave Celtic? This is the thing. Will he leave Celtic this summer? Celtic are a bit weighted in the department for defenders. Yoki Kobayashi, he's one that I could probably see getting passed out this summer also. But we have been linked yesterday with Dara O'Shea. We have been linked with Dara O'Shea. It has been suggested that Celtic have made an inquiry about the availability of the player. Now, Celtic have made inquiries about the availability of a number of goalkeepers. It doesn't mean that they actually make an offer. And I think this is where we're all getting a bit carried away. A cracking player by all accounts, but they paid 7 million for him. Burnley paid 7 million just a year ago. It's going to take a lot of money for Burnley to turn around and say, you know what, we'll sell him now. How much are you going to give us, Celtic? It's going to be it's going to be upwards of 10 million. Is he a 10 million pound player? Tell me in the comment section, because I'm not too sure. I've never seen him play. I think I've seen him play once, but no. Moving from 7 million he was sold for just last year. Is that the way that Celtic's going to go? Anyway, tell me your thoughts in the comments section. Anyway, it's just, there's not much news going about this morning. There's just loads of speculation, and you know what? I don't want to add to it anymore. It's just Celtic. We're going to just sit and wait now and twiddle our thumbs. There's no point in naming every single player that we're going to get mentioned to us until there's a concrete bid put in. And we'll know when there's a concrete bid put in because the agents will release that information. I don't think Celtic have put a concrete bid in for anyone as such. I mean, there's obviously talks ongoing, but talks can take forever. We've got a game on Friday, and as it stands, Benji Siegrist is still at Celtic. No matter what his missus says, that he's managed to broker a deal to get out of Celtic. Well, he's obviously not brokered it yet. He wasn't spotted back in training as yet. We'll keep an eye on that one on the Celtic media when they release pictures this week. It's going to be Scott Bain by the looks of it, and young Toby that's going to take the trip along the road to Ayr United to play Scott Brown's team on Friday. And on that note, that brings to the end this morning's version of the Celtic News by the One Celtic Fans View. If you made it to the end, good luck and congratulations and thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you'd like to say there's no news like good news, but when it comes to Celtic, no news is no transfers. It's as simple as that. Anyway, hasta luego, and I shall see you on the next video. Have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world.